Today I want to talk about working with your shadow. Just let you know. I just did an entire video about this subject, didn't record a damn thing. So yeah, that's how this goes. So, working with the shadow. What is the shadow? The shadow is this dark part of you, the emotions, the hurt feelings, the trauma, whatever it is that you've gone through in your life that is pushed aside, that is shoved into the dark corners, and that's not being acknowledged. The shadow for some people is the trauma. Some people it's the hurt feelings. I think for me it's all of the above. And it's not necessarily something negative. It's something that is there to protect us, something that helps us to make it through the times that we are sad and depressed, or we've gone through trauma, or we've been abused, or whatever it may be. Each one of us has something. Everybody's level of trauma is different, and we can't discount one person because you think, oh my gosh, that is horrible, or oh my gosh, that's not even, I've been through so much worse. We each have our own level of trauma. We each have our own level of abuses that we've gone through in our lifetimes, and we cannot discount someone else's. So shutting somebody else down because it seems like they've had it worse or they haven't had it as bad as we have is doing nothing more but diminishing ourselves. That shadow is something that we really need to acknowledge. We need to realize that it's a part of us that we've hidden away. A lot of times it's that hurt child or that emotion that you're in a not safe space and you discounted it and you end up getting hurt. I love my tarot and oracle decks. So I've got 3 decks sitting right here that I use on the regular. I'm showing you so that if you want to take screenshots, you can. But I love these decks because they are not all light and airy. They are showing me where I need to look. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about, like, I have a lot of tarot decks that are like Halloween kind of tarot decks. And I use those to look at the shadow because that's typically what that is. That time of year is looking at the darkness. I appreciate that because it lets me look in a place where I wouldn't normally. So if a card flips out, when I deal my cards, I go with whatever flips out. Whatever falls out, that's the card that I pick. A lot of times I'm going to get a card that I may not necessarily think is something that I need to deal with, but in some ways I do. So that helps me to look into realms that I wouldn't normally look at. One of the ways that I've also found is by listening to my dreams. I've had this recurring, I haven't actually in a while, but I had this recurring dream for years. I mean, years, about this huge house that my mother owned. And she didn't actually own it, but in the dream she did. Massive attic, completely empty, but this massive attic with this little door in the back. And I was always afraid to go see what was in that little door. Eventually, over years of having this dream, I worked my courage up to be able to go and open this little door. My imagination is creating all of these horrific monsters and this just ghastly stuff behind this door in the darkness. And come to find out that it was a little girl. It was me. And I had pushed her back so long ago. I had forgotten about her. Now I was able to go into this dream and go into that door and be able to bring her out into the light and acknowledge that she needed love and that she needed reassurance and that she needed to know that me as an adult now, that I am there for her and able to help her and listen to her and let her tell me all her concerns and her worries and her fears and not discount her, which is the reason why she was there in the first place, because her fears and her concerns were discounted when I was like 5 or 6, whatever year age it was. I think it was like 5 or 6. So being able to bring her out, and now as an adult, I can talk to her, I can journal about, and we can have a conversation, and we can say, okay, here's what you need to work on. This is what has been bothering me. These are the things that I get scared about. As an adult, I think, oh, those are ridiculous fears. But as a child at that time, those were well-founded fears. If I hadn't taken the time to pay attention to that dream, to work my way back into that room and being able to bring her out, that shadow would never have gotten healed. I still have work that I need to do on that. So how do you heal the shadow? For me, I use different modalities. I use EFT, tapping. I've used NLP, and my Oracle decks and Tarot decks. Journaling is a massive one. You guys already know I love journaling. And other modalities, Reiki and body work and energy work. I've done some course with Donna Eden for energy work and working through that. So getting that darkness and that shadow and being able to work with it and send it love and send it healing. These are the things that we need to do. We have to acknowledge and send that love. We can't just shove it down and pretend like it never happened. We can't just kind of push it to the side and think that it's never going to come up again. Each time we level up, new level, devil. Every time that we heal a part of us, there's going to be more parts of us that need to be healed. We're going to be revisiting that shadow. And again, sending that shadow love and letting it know that, yes, thank you so much for protecting me. Thank you so much for taking care of me and being there when I needed you to keep me safe in that time. Acknowledging it, being grateful for it. Because here's the thing, that shadow is what made you be able to get to where you are now. But now you need to go back and say, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you keeping me safe at that time. It's not always easy. Let me tell you, it is not always easy. There are times when it's going to be really hard, where you need to cry, you need to scream, you need to, go up to a mountain and just scream your lungs out, or scream into a pillow, or go to someplace to just let that emotion out. And that's healing. That's cathartic. If you're not doing that, you're holding that emotion in. That's when you get sick. That's when you get cancer. Or like me, having asthma. Asthma is a side effect of withholding my grief and not allowing that grief to come out. Not allowing myself to cry. Not allowing myself to scream when I'm frustrated. Not allowing myself to take deep breaths and take a minute to just chill and walk away from situations that I don't want to be in. I know that now, but there were times when, oh my gosh, it's like dark night of the soul, where all the negative shadow stuff is just pouring down upon you, and you feel like you can't get out of it. It is the worst time. That's why they call it the dark night of the soul, because it feels like it's just blackness and you're never going to get out of it. Let me tell you, if you don't do the work that you need to, you won't get out of it. If you need to see a therapist, you need a whatever the hell you call those people, go see one. Go talk to somebody if that will work for you. I talked to a therapist, psychoanalyst, psychotherapist, several of them. It just didn't work for me. Don't know why. Just wasn't comfortable. Maybe I was seeing the wrong people. I don't even know. But it didn't work for me. Other things did work for me. So I went with the things that worked for me. And I'm constantly looking for new things. If you have something that you use, please share it down in the comments. I would love to know. Because there are different things that I used in the past that I don't use anymore because I don't like them anymore. I love the EFT. I love the NLP because going back, visualizing, and resetting that timeline. I love that. We'll have to talk about timelines at another time, but I love being able to do that, to be able to jump timelines and change things. It's acknowledging that you have this power within you to shift that darkness. By shifting it, it brightens up, lightens your energy, and allows you to allow so much more in. But if you're not looking at that shadow and you're discounting it and you're, pushing it aside and I'll think about it later. Yeah, you'll think about it later when you're in the hospital because you've torn yourself up by not acknowledging it. So I'm going to tell you right now, please do whatever it is that you need. If there's something that I can help you out with or I can answer questions, I would be more than willing to do that. I am not a therapist in any way, shape, or form, but I can tell you what I've done. I can tell you what I've tried, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and what I did to be able to change my life and to do what I continue to do to be able to improve my life and be moving forward into the life of recreating that story that we've been talking about. So, that said, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to do the thumbs up and the bell if this resonated with you. Share it with me. Tell me what it is that you've been going through. Share with me. We really need to start talking about this more. It's been hidden for so long and it's been tabooed for anybody. Oh my gosh, if you see a therapist. One thing that I do appreciate is that now in our time, more people are seeing therapists. That said, there's a lot of work that we can do ourselves that will help improve our lives in such a dramatic way. But you've got to be willing to make some changes. You've got to be willing to step outside of that box. You've got to be willing to acknowledge that hurt and that pain and that frustration and whatever else it is that's going on, your traumas and your abuses. You need to be able to acknowledge those things to be able to work through them. So I know you can do it. I know it's possible. It may not be easy. It may be very, very difficult. But there's a lot of times where you don't have to revisit it over and over and over ad nauseum. One of the great things I love about NLP is you go in, you rewrite that story, which is what we're doing now. We're rewriting that story and then telling ourselves that new story instead of rehashing and reinforcing that old story. Let's work on creating a new one that empowers us, that strengthens us, that brings us to the true essence of ourselves. And let's stop holding on to that negative. Stop holding on to that shadow and saying, you know what? Let's work through that and let's change that story. Don't forget to live life adventurously. It's the only way to live.